Good morning or good evening, everybody. Happy New Year, frohes neues Jahr. First of all, we would like to welcome you to our first webinar in 2016. It's about Kerio Control 9.0, what's new. We released the 9.0 at the end of last year. Today, with me here is Heather Paunet, our Vice President of Products, and Brian Carmichael, our Senior Technical Marketing Engineer, who is going to help answering questions you may have during the presentation. So I would now like to hand over to Heather and have fun and enjoy this webinar.
I'm Heather Paunet. I'm based in San Jose, California at our Kerio headquarters. And I'm going to be sharing with you today what's new in the latest version of Kerio Control, version 9. We released this version just before the holidays, so it was, I think it was around December the 15th, and I'm taking this opportunity to share some of the highlights with you. You're quite welcome to ask questions during the presentation. As Carsten mentioned, he and Brian are standing by to answer any questions that you have. So feel free to send those questions in the Q&A pod, and we'll also take some time at the end to review any questions that we haven't answered or give you the opportunity to ask a few more at the end. So I'm going to start off with an overview of Kerio Control, which will serve as a reminder of what Kerio Control offers. And from there, we'll go into the highlights of what's new in the 9.0 release. I'll drill into some of those features in more detail, and we'll wrap up with a summary. And again, feel free to ask questions as we go in the Q&A pod. So before we go into what's new, I'd like to review some of the many things that Kerio Control can do for our customers. So Kerio Control is our network firewall solution. It gives secure and safe access to our customers by way of its leading edge intrusion prevention system. It can provide deep packet inspection for all of your servers, and it provides some advanced network routing capability. With Kerio Control, you can create policies for inbound and outbound traffic, restricting traffic to your own set of rules, which can be URL-based or can be based on the type of traffic and can change depending on the time of day. So if you want to set up policies that are in effect during normal working hours, so let's say between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., and different policies for after work hours, you can do that with Kerio Control. So intrusion prevention gives you network protection. We use snort-based analysis. Control uses a set of rules which include blacklisted addresses that can help with emerging threats. And we have a database that gets updated as new threats are discovered. Kerio Control's advanced antivirus keeps viruses, worms, and spyware out of your network with our Sophos Gateway antivirus. Our antivirus checks all your web traffic, it checks email attachments, and it checks downloads. And it keeps current automatically so that it's ready to protect against new viruses before they can actually get to your network. For customers that have multiple offices or for employees that work from home, Kerio can link them to the head office with Kerio Control's VPN tunneling. Kerio's VPN solution is very easy to set up, and it can be set up with two-factor authentication for an extra layer of security to all the users that connect remotely. Kerio Control lets customers be sure that the websites that their employees have access to are the ones that you want them to have access to. So Kerio Control can stop your users from visiting sites that cause harm to their machines or to the network. As well as keeping the network safe, Kerio Control can also stop users getting distracted and ensure they keep their focus on their job. And this again can be done at certain times of day. You can limit certain types of web traffic to the hours that are appropriate. So, for example, social networking or YouTube videos, for example, can be restricted outside of working hours. Quality of service ensures that the administrator can control how much bandwidth certain types of network traffic are allowed to use. Lower priority traffic can be capped and higher priority traffic can be boosted. Kerio Control can make sure network traffic is distributed across the network and that links are monitored to ensure that the network access is always available. As with all of our Kerio products, Kerio Control can be deployed in the way that fits best for our customers. So it can be deployed as a hardware appliance, or it can be deployed as a software appliance or as a virtual machine. As well as going into what's new in Kerio Control 9, I'd also like to show you our new hardware appliance, our NG100, that was introduced in November of last year. The main feature that we introduced in Kerio Control 9 was zero-touch provisioning. This is a feature that makes it a lot easier for both our partners and for our customers to get up and running with their new hardware appliance. So we'll go into those two in a lot more detail shortly. And we'll also go over the latest features that we've added over the last few months into MyKerio. So I'll go over the features that were added to MyKerio since the 8.6 version of Kerio Control. So Kerio Control NG100 is a new hardware appliance that was introduced in November. We moved to a new type of box, and this particular box is targeted to our smaller customers. It's targeted for small businesses of around 5 to 10 employees that want to ensure they have a safe and secure network. The form factor of this appliance is not much bigger than an Apple TV device. It's the kind of device that can sit on a desk for customers that don't have a dedicated server room because they don't need one. But small as it is, it's fully functional with Kerio Control software, and all the features that I went over before are all available on this small box. It can be put into place as a firewall with great performance, up to 215 megabits per second. You can turn on intrusion prevention protection and antivirus, or you can use it as a full unified threat management system. And it's a dual core processor in this tiny box. Zero-touch provisioning. This is a feature that will make everybody's life easier. We want small businesses to understand just enough about security so that they know what they need to keep their network and their assets safe and secure, yet make it easy enough for them so they don't have to worry about a complex setup. With zero-touch provisioning, they don't even have to log on to the admin console of Kerio Control once. Zero-touch provisioning, it will work with any of our Kerio Control hardware appliances. So with the existing 1220 or the existing 3130 appliances, as well as with the NG100. So let's go through how that works. So the box can be ordered and sent directly to the customer. Once the box arrives at the customer site, the customer should plug it into the network, and the box, if it can get an internet connection, will automatically connect to MyKerio. Once it's connected, the customer can make their quick call to their partner, who's acting as their IT administrator, and let them know that it's plugged in and they're ready to go. So the partner, acting as the IT administrator, can configure it remotely from anywhere they have access to a web browser. And then once they're done, the box will start protecting the network. So it's very easy for the partner, it's very easy for the customer as well. So just going through that a little bit in more detail. So if we look at MyKerio, this is an example of what the partner would need to do. The partner can log into MyKerio and select to add a new appliance. So you can see on the right-hand side, there's an Add New Appliance button there. Once they do this, they will need to enter the license number of the box and the serial number of the box as well. When you receive the NG100 box or any of our Kerio Control hardware appliances, there's a piece of paper sitting nicely on top of the box that has the license number and the serial number on it. So the customer can give that to their IT administrator, who can enter that license number and serial number, and then hit the Find the Appliance button, and MyKerio will go off and make its connection to the box. Once that happens, then once the box is found, you can give the appliance a name. and add it if you wish to an existing organization that you have. And I'll go over organizations in a bit more detail later, but if you were to add the new box to an organization, what this means is that everything you've set up for that organization will be applicable to this new box as well. So you can share settings that have already been set up for other boxes that you want to be applied to your new box as well. And administrators that have access to that organization will be able to help you manage this box as well. So zero-touch provisioning uses MyKerio, and we'll go and look into more details about what else we've added into MyKerio shortly. However, first I'd also like to show you the new connection limits screen that we've added to Kerio Control's administration. You may recall that we made some changes in the 8.6 version to make these settings a lot more granular. We had more feedback from our customers and partners that even more granularity would be good for certain situations. So we've gone a bit further with these settings, and I'll run through them here for you. In the 8.6 version, you could set limits for the number of connections made between two hosts, two servers, or the number of connections made per minute between two hosts or between two servers. But now we've given you the ability to distinguish between the initiating host and the destination host. So the top section is about connections coming from a source IP address. So think of this as the server or the host initiating the connection. Kerio Control lets you limit the maximum number of connections initiated from one server or from one source IP address. It also lets you limit the number of new connections per minute from one source IP address. So this gives you two complementary ways to ensure that a server initiating connections is not causing issues for your network. So you can see in this example, we've limited the maximum number of concurrent connections initiated from one source IP address to 600. You may want to set the number of connections that can be initiated per minute to something lower. So you may decide to set this to 100, for example, and leave the maximum concurrent connections to 600. But you have the granularity to leave those the same, leave them at the defaults, or you can set them as works for your own network. The middle section here lets you set limits on incoming connections to a destination IP address. So now we're talking about who the connection is being made to, which server or which destination IP address the connection is being made to. Whilst the top section was about the server initiating the connection, the middle section is about the server who the connection is being made to. So you can set the maximum number of connections to one destination IP address, and you can further limit the number of connections made to one server from the same source. So in the example here, the maximum number of inbound connections to one server is 1,200, but the maximum number of inbound connections all made from the same initiating server is 100. So this means that one initiator could not take up all 1,200 connections. You would need to have 12 of them to get to the limit of 1,200. And then similarly, as with the 8.6 release, you can set some exceptions to be treated differently. So if you've specified certain IP addresses, in the example here, we have HTTPS exclusions, which are some IP addresses that we've set up specifically that we want to be treated differently. You can set exceptions here. So for these particular IP addresses, you can limit the maximum concurrent connections from one source IP address, and you can limit new connections per minute from one source IP address. And these will be treated differently from the top and the middle section above. So you can see that we've really got a lot more granular. You don't have to set all these connections. You can leave them at the defaults and it will work very well. But for our customers and our partners that want more control over this and have specific denial of service situations that they want to guard against, this is now a lot more powerful than it was before. So we've made a few more changes to MyKerio as well as adding zero-touch provisioning. But let's first do a recap on the benefits of MyKerio. So MyKerio is a centralized management system for Kerio Control. You can go to one place, which is my.kerio.com, and from there you'll need one administrator username and password to get access to your Kerio Control deployment. So all your appliances can be managed from the same place. One username and password, easy to remember, it's secure, and it gives you the ability to monitor and make changes to all of the Kerio Control appliances that you're responsible for. A few notes on security. So all communication between MyKerio and your appliance is encrypted. There are no Kerio Control usernames or passwords saved or even used here in MyKerio. You have a separate administrative login that you can explicitly allow or disallow the ability to control Kerio Control appliances. And I'll go over that being security conscious, we've also added two-step verification to this as well. Just something of interest, shortly after we released Kerio Control 8.6, which is when we introduced MyKerio, we saw at least 64% of all our Kerio appliances being connected by MyKerio. So our partners and our customers are using MyKerio and seeing the benefits of being able to see everything in one place. They're saving time, they're being more responsive, and they're finding it easier to do this every day with MyKerio. The most recent additions to MyKerio are appliance organizations. With appliance organizations, you can group appliances together. Grouping them together means that you can have multiple administrators responsible for that group of appliances, and you can also share settings across those appliances. I'll go into that in a little more detail in a moment. We've added the ability to share and synchronize definitions in one organization. So instead of installing a new appliance and having to configure everything from scratch, you can copy the definitions from the other appliances in the organization. And this will help you get that appliance up and running even quicker. And when you make changes directly from MyKerio, those changes can apply to all the appliances in that particular organization. Being security conscious, we've added two-step verification to MyKerio. You can install an app on your mobile phone so that when you log into MyKerio, you'll have to enter your password, but also the code that you can see on your mobile phone as well. So if somebody were to try and steal your account, they would, one, need to know your username, your password, know the URL, but they would also have to have stolen your cell phone, be able to log into it and access that app and get your verification code from that as well. So much better security there should make everybody feel very confident that nobody's going to be able to hack into your account. Let's take a closer look at MyKerio organizations. You can organize your appliances into groups and assign more than one administrator to be able to manage those appliances. So, for example, here I have an organization called Kerio. And you can see that myself and one other person, Brian, who's answering questions here, we're both able to manage all the appliances that we share the responsibility together for in this organization. In this example, you can see that I have an organization called Library Block, but if I click on the arrow next to Library Block, you can see that I've actually got 4 organizations. So this is an example for a university campus. I've got a faculty area, I've got a library block, I've got a North campus, and I've got a South campus. And I've got different appliances that are applicable for each of those areas in the university. So if we take, for example, the organization Library Block, if I want to add a new colleague, I can do that by clicking on the button over to the right and inviting a user to join my organization. So when I click on that button to invite the user, I need to know their email address, and they'll get an email inviting them to join as well. So in this case, I've added a new user. Brian and myself are taking care of all the appliances in the library block, but I also want to ask Anne Smith to join us as well, because I know that Brian's going on vacation, I'm going to be really busy, and I need Anne to help us at this point as well. So Anne will receive an invitation so that she can join this organization. She won't be able to join unless she has credentials on MyKerio as well, and unless she receives this email specifically from me. So she can accept that invitation, and then she'll be able to help us manage and configure all the appliances in the library block area. So shared definitions also make it easier to manage appliances by letting you use common settings when you install a new appliance and letting you keep appliances synchronized with your preferences. You can share the same set of definitions across all the appliances in an organization. You can import definitions from an existing appliance that you've already set up and use this as your starting point. So let's say you're going to install a brand new you're going to set up a brand new organization for, let's say, the south block of the university campus. You won't have to set up the definitions from scratch for any appliances in that organization. You can import them from an appliance that you've got somewhere else on campus. And very important, we've got inbuilt cutoff prevention. This applies to Kerio Control version 9 or later, so please make sure you upgrade. This means that we don't let you cut yourself off from being able to administer your appliance. If you were to do something through MyKerio that made it so that you weren't able to go back in and manage your appliances, we would stop you from doing that. In each of the past few releases, we've had a common theme of adding more and more IPv6 functionality. In version 8.6, we added the ability to do IPv6 prefix delegation. In version 9, we now have IPv6 for all functionality apart from VPN. So new functionality specifically in the 9.0 release is that you can now monitor a user's IPv6 and IPv4 activities in the Kerio Control Active Host screen. You can see users' IPv6 user activities in the Kerio Control statistics, and traffic types such as multimedia, remote access, messaging can be specified as IPv6 addresses as well as IPv4 addresses. And bandwidth management rules can be specified as IPv6 addresses as well as IPv4 addresses. One thing to note regarding Kerio Control licensing, we allow one user to have 5 IPv4 addresses for each license that they have on Kerio Control. With the addition of IPv6 addresses, we allow up to 10 IPv6 addresses for each user license and 5 IPv4 addresses as well. So those are really the highlights of what's available in the 9.0 release. So to summarize, it's now much easier to get appliances up and running with Kerio Control. We provide both zero-touch provisioning and the ability to share and synchronize settings across appliances. So there's a lot less to do. It's easy to share management responsibilities with colleagues if somebody's going to go on vacation or you get too many appliances for one person to manage. Add them to the same organization and share the responsibility by adding other administrators to be able to access the same administrative capabilities as you can. And there are other improvements such as the more granular denial of service settings and the ability to track usage and define rules with IPv addresses. If you didn't try it yet, please do try MyKerio, and also next time you set up an appliance, please try out our zero-touch provisioning. Thanks for listening.